What is up, guys, and welcome back to another Grimlock video. I hope you are having an amazing day today, and if you are, it's about to get even better, as this is my Elemental Shaman guide for the Season 3 of the War Within. I know a lot of you guys have been asking for this, so here it is. It's going to be going over your builds, your gearing, your damage rotation, macros, pretty much anything you can think of that will help you improve as an Elemental Shaman in PvP in this season. If you have questions, feel free to write them in a comment below, or feel free to join my Discord in the description below, as I answer questions there super fast. And also, feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Let's get right into it. Alright, to kick this video off, we are going to start with the Shaman side of the tree, and then we will get to the Elemental side of the tree later on. But our first point goes straight into Astral Shift. What Astral Shift is basically a shield wall or a defensive cooldown. It's a 1.5 minute cooldown with Plains Traveler, which makes it a really strong cooldown, honestly. It lasts 12 seconds, and 40% damage reduction for 12 seconds is just very good. I mean, you're going to live most things as long as you press this at a high enough health percentage. You'll be pretty good, even if your healer is in CC. So most of the time, say my healer gets in a full crowd control and I know I'm going to have to press a defensive, I'm going to press this at like 70% health. You don't want to press this when you're at like 25% health. It's not going to do too much saving. It might save you, but it's very little chance that it will, because it's not going to give you any health benefit or anything like that. It just reduces the amount of damage you take. So a lot of the times you want to press shield walls at a higher percentage of health, whether it's like 40, 50% health. It all depends on when your healer really gets at in crowd control. But that is what we take for our first point. Moving on, I do take Earth Shield with this build. I take Earth Shield and Elemental Orbit. Earth Shield is just really good. It does about 5 to 10% of my overall healing every game, which is really strong. We do take Wind Shear, which is a 12-second cooldown kick, which is insane. It's the shortest cooldown kick in the game, but it also has a 30-yard range, which is also crazy. But it only locks out for 2 seconds, so you have to make sure you are casting Wind Shear on somebody casting a very important spell school. So, for instance, like when you're fighting a Destro Lock, you don't want to be Wind Shearing something like Incinerate or arguably Fear. You want to be casting Wind Shear on something like a Chaos Bolt, because it locks them on a Chaos school of magic. And so what Chaos is it's actually fire and shadow mixed together. It locks them out of everything, and then they can't cast anything for 2 seconds, which is really good, right? But if you cast this on something like an Incinerate, for instance, it only locks them on Fire School. They're still able to cast Chaos, and they're still able to cast Shadow. So you have to be very diligent on what you're kicking as a Shaman, because it only locks them out for 2 seconds, which is really bad. So yeah, just make sure you're kicking important things. Plains Traveler, like I said, we want to make sure our cooldown comes up as fast as possible, so we're able to use it as frequently as possible. Now, there is an argument to be made for Astral Bulwark, but it's really rare. Most things have a solid 30-second go now, so you just want to have your defensives up as fast as possible. I mean, pretty much every caster in the game that I can think of has a really good 30-second go now, and if not, they just have really good consistent damage. So there's that. We do take Frost Shock. Frost Shock is very crucial for Shaman in general, but especially for Elemental Shaman, as we take Ice Fury in the Elemental side of the tree. But yeah, Frost Shock is really good. It's our slow, and it also just generates a decent amount of Maelstrom. I mean, it generates 3 Maelstrom compared to Lightning Bolt 6, so every 2 casts of Frost Shock is 1 Lightning Bolt in terms of Maelstrom generation, so that's pretty good. And then, like I said, I take Elemental Orbit. What Elemental Orbit does is it allows us to have Earth Shield and Lightning Shield on at the same time, and you can have Earth Shield on a teammate as well, which is really good, really good. So definitely want to take Elemental Orbit if we're taking Earth Shield. Okay. Fire and Ice, this just increases all of our fire and frost damage, which is really good because Lava Burst is our hardest hitting ability by far. Well, sorry, not our hardest hitting ability, but it is our most highest percentage of damage done overall in an instance. So most of the time, your Lava Burst should be your #1 damage in terms of like damage meter. I do take Cap Totem. Now this depends on what composition I get. If I'm playing in Solo Shuffle and I'm playing with like something like a Subtly Rogue, I don't want to take Cap Totem because I don't want to mess him up on stun DRs a lot of the time. So sometimes instead of Cap Totem, I'll take something like Elemental Resistance or Seasoned Winds, or even if I have to, like Traveling Storms, because what Traveling Storms does is it actually even if I'm not casting Thunderstorm on an ally, it reduces movement speed by 60% when I knock them, and it knocks them even further, which is really good. So there's options you can take even if you don't take Cap Totem. I do take Gust of Wind instead of Spirit Walk. There's just more utility in Gust of Wind. You can actually jump up onto ledges with Gust of Wind, which is really nice. Spirit Walk is really rare, even though it's really nice to have a sprint as an Elemental Shaman. It's just so, like, not useful in comparison to Gust of Wind. Gust of Wind is super good for creating distance. It's good for baiting mobility out. For instance, if I'm fighting a warrior, and a warrior is on top of me, and he has me hamstrung, and I press Spirit Walk, one, it'll remove the hamstring, which is really good, but it'll create a little bit of a gap, but he'll most likely be able to catch up to me again without having to use a charge, where if I press Gust of Wind, he almost 100% of the time has to charge to me, which is really good. So you want to make sure you're creating gap closers for yourself, or gap creators for yourself using Gust of Wind. So yeah, I take Gust of Wind over Spirit Walk pretty much 99% of the time. Brimming with Life, this just gives us 10% more stamina, which is insane. We don't really care about the reincarnation cooldown because it doesn't matter in PvP. But yeah, the 10% maximum health is very good. So we take that. Take Healing Stream Totem. I press this literally off cooldown. And actually, I have an extra action bar on my screen to show Healing Stream's cooldown in like a bigger number here. So I can press it off cooldown because it actually does so much healing. So much healing if you're pressing it off cooldown, which is insane. A lot of people forget to press this entirely, but it is crazy. This thing can actually heal for like 20 million damage over the course of like a 3-minute game if you're just pressing it off cooldown, which is really good. Really good. Earth Grab Totem, this is awesome button. It's our AoE root. It's a 24-second cooldown, which is crazy low for an AoE root, and it also slows people when they are previously rooted. So I mean, it's just really good. It's just a really good thing. You can also get rogues or other stealth classes out of stealth by pressing this, and if they're in the area of effect range of it, they'll come out of stealth. So say somebody's in stealth and I click this on top of them, it will pull them out of stealth, which is really good. I take Greater Purge. The reason why I take Greater Purge over Normal Purge is it triggers 2 spell purges, which is really good, but also I don't really have the globals to be pressing Purge over and over and over again, so it's more beneficial for me to just press Greater Purge one time to try to get something off, and if I don't, then move on with my day and just keep doing damage rotation instead of just pressing Purge until I get what I want. Most of the time, by the time I get what I want off the target, I could have just Greater Purged it off anyways, or it's like been 6 seconds in the scariness of what I'm trying to purge, or the defensive that I'm trying to purge off is just already done its job. So a lot of the times you want to take Greater Purge. It's just a better global to press in general. I take Earth Elemental. Now, Earth Elemental is very, very good. Earth Elemental increases our maximum health by 15% while it's out. Now, when you have an Elemental out, you also get Primordial Bond, so we take 5% less damage overall when Earth Elemental is out. So that means for 1 minute, I'm taking 5% less damage, and I have 15% more health, which is crazy. It's a really good defensive. A lot of the times, I mean, I'm pressing this as long as my Fire Elemental is not out. So I would say after the opener, so I press Fire Elemental in my opener to do my burst rotation off the rip. The second my Fire Elemental goes away, I'm pressing Earth Elemental, and the reason being is you just want to have that damage reduction and passive health increase just sitting there on you. There's no reason to wait. Just let it come out as soon as possible. It's not like a Void Swap where it's going to save your life, but it will prevent you from taking a lot of damage over time. So Earth Elemental, it's really good. We do take Tremor Totem. Now, what Tremor Totem does is it removes fears, charms, sleeps, pretty much anything from your target. For some reason, this does not work on Song of Chi-Ji, even though Song of Chi-Ji is a sleep effect, because technically Song of Chi-Ji counts as a disorient. So this would be, it's almost like Song of Chi-Ji works like Dragon's Breath, even though it's worded in Song of Chi-Ji that it's a sleep. It is not a sleep, it's a disorient. So Tremor Totem does not remove Song of Chi-Ji, but it removes every other form of sleep. So like Sleepwalk. This should technically remove Succubus sleep, I'm pretty sure, like the Seduce. I'm 90% sure it does, which I think falls under Charm. So yeah, that's what Tremor does. It just removes crowd control from you or your healer, which is really good. And it's a 54-second cooldown, so not too bad. Nature's Guardian, super good. Nature's Guardian is crazy every 30 seconds because we have nature's natural harmony in Farseer. We have it on a 30-second cooldown, and it's a 30% HP heal. It's kind of insane, actually. So as long as this is triggering frequently, you're pretty much getting a free 30% HP heal, which is a renewal every 30 seconds, which is insane. Nature's Fury, this just increases the critical strike chance of our nature abilities by 4%. So our Earth Shock and our Lightning Bolts, basically that's it, by 4%, so that's really good. Elemental Warding, this reduces all magic damage taken by 6%. Definitely a must take. That's huge. Most classes surprisingly do magic damage now. There's only like a handful. I mean, even Marksmanship Hunter does magic damage now with Black Arrow if you're playing that. And I think even Aim Shot has a proc that makes it do like nature damage or something like that if you're playing Sentinel. I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't call me out on that. But I think like the only true magic damage or non-magic damage classes is like Outlaw Rogue, Warrior, and maybe like Windwalker Monk. It's crazy. It's so dumb how many things actually do magic damage now. And then obviously we take Hex. Hex is our main form of crowd control. Super strong, really good crowd control. This is actually a great button to press on somebody to peel, because it's a curse, so a lot of healers can't dispel this. The only healers that can is technically Preservation Evoker, Resto Shaman, and Resto Druid, I believe. So those are the only healers that can dispel this. So say you're fighting against a Holy Paladin or, you know, a Disc Priest, because there's a lot of Disc Priests right now. They're not going to be able to get this off. A monk won't be able to get this off their teammate. So if you're taking a lot of damage and you cast this on, say, a fire mage, they're not going to be able to get out of this. So they're just sitting in it for 6 seconds every 30 seconds or so, every 20 seconds or so. So yeah, Hex is a really good peel. It's really hard to land this on a healer and it not get dispelled, because a lot of DPS classes, weirdly enough, have curse dispels. So you have to be very cautious about what has a curse dispel and what doesn't. But yeah, that's where you're going to press Hex. Primordial Bond, I explained this, while you have an elemental active, you take 5% less damage. It's really good. Spirit Walker's Grace. Spirit Walker's Grace is really good because this is actually what becomes our Aura Mastery. So what an Aura Mastery is when you press it, you can't be interrupted for a couple of seconds, 5 seconds or so. So that's really good. But also Spirit Walker's Grace allows us to move while casting, which is also really nice. So being able to move while casting is super helpful. Thunderstorm, it's just our basically an AoE knockback. It's basically Blast Wave for Elemental Shaman. It's a little bit better than Blast Wave in my opinion. Voodoo Mastery, this basically makes it so that our Hex is a 15-second cooldown. You can also take this point and put it somewhere else if somebody has like a Curse Dispel or something like that, and you're not going to get off as many Hexes as you normally would. But yeah, I like taking Voodoo Mastery. You can also put it in Totemic Focus, which is really good. But yeah, there's that. I take Enhanced Imbues. This just makes it so that my Flame Shock, or my Flame Tongue weapon actually gives us more fire damage, which is really nice. Lightning Lasso. Now what Lightning Lasso is a channel kidney shot basically. So if I want to CC somebody for a couple of seconds, say I run out of damage but they're really low in health, I'll Lightning Lasso them to keep them low in health for my teammate to hopefully finish them off. Also sometimes this can just be that little bit of extra crowd control you need in order to finish a kill. So say the healer is coming out of crowd control, they're off stun DR, and their teammate is at 20% health. A lot of time Lightning Lasso on a healer right here is going to cause that extra little bit to get you guys the win. Lightning Lasso is super good, but it has to be timed right because you have to channel it. So you don't want to do this when you have a lot of damage rolling, because if you do this, you're going to pause your damage effectively for 5 seconds. So definitely make sure you use this at the right moments. Totemic Projection. It's really good. I have this macroed into a lot of my buttons. I have this macroed into, my Tremor Totem, my Grounding Totem, and my Primordial Wave. I know that sounds weird, but when I press Primordial Wave, it summons Totem of Wrath. So I want to project the Totem of Wrath to a pillar if I can, instantly. So most of the time, if I'm about to cast my Totem of Wrath, for instance, by pressing Primordial Wave, I'll actually hover my cursor around a pillar, so that when I cast my Totem of Wrath, it actually just instantly transports to the pillar, and so people can't kill it as soon as possible. I know it's like kind of high tech. A lot of people won't do that at a lower rating, but yeah, Totem of Wrath dies really easily if it's just sitting out in the open, so projecting it to a pillar is really good. Totemic Surge, I play this. I think it's really good. 6 seconds off all of your totem cooldowns is really strong, especially for things like Healing Stream Totem or other 30-second cooldown totems, like Earth Grab Totem. You have them up way more frequently, which is really nice. Nature Swiftness, super important to get Nature Swiftness as a Farseer Shaman, as your Ancestral Swiftness overlaps it. It becomes a 30-second cooldown. But yeah, Nature Swiftness is very good. Super, super good. And if you have Nature Swiftness and you get Ancestral Swiftness, when you cast it, it summons an Ancestor by your side, which Ancestors are like your top 10%. I mean, they're like your top 3 or 4 in terms of damage. So Ancestors are very strong. Stone Bulwark Totem. This is also an insane defensive. It's a really long cooldown. But yeah, this is great. This is a great absorb. What a lot of people don't know is a couple of patches ago, they actually changed it. So when you press Stone Bulwark Totem, you get like a 5 million health shield, for instance. That first initial 5 million health shield is no longer purgeable. But every couple of seconds afterwards, you get another like 500k health absorb. Those ones are purgeable. But before the patch, it used to be you could just purge off the 5 million health shield. Now you can't. So it's actually an even better cooldown than it used to be. So yeah, Stone Bulwark Totem, very strong, very good button to press. Yeah, it's basically like a life cocoon, but on a really long cooldown, which makes sense because I don't need a life cocoon all the time. As a shaman, that wouldn't make sense for this to be like a minute cooldown. But yeah, Stone Bulwark Totem, very good. Totemic Recall, 3-minute cooldown, resets the cooldown of your most recently used totem with a base cooldown shorter than 3 minutes. So this is important that it says base cooldown because our base cooldown for Stone Bulwark is a little over 3 minutes, or 3 minutes exactly. And so Totemic Recall does not work on something like Stone Bulwark Totem. But what it will work on is stuff like Grounding Totem, Tremor Totem, Healing Stream, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the times you want to press this when you Tremor or when you Ground, and that way you get another Ground instantly, which is really nice, or another Tremor instantly, stuff like that. There's other instances you can use it, but it's just a lot of utility being able to instantly reset your last cooldown, or your last totem use. So yeah, that is my shaman side of the talent tree. I know that was a lot of explaining, but that's the most of my jibber jabber for that. Okay, so we're gonna go straight over to the elemental side. Alrighty, so looking over on the elemental side of the tree, we first take Earth Shock. We don't take Elemental Blast. It's too risky to cast Elemental Blast, sadly. But we do get Fusion of Elements, which basically after we cast an Ice Fury, the next time you cast a Nature and Fire spell, you cast an Elemental Blast, which does proc the stats bonus on you. So you get this anyways. We do take Earth Shock, though. Earth Shock is one of our hardest hitting abilities, which is really good, especially this season, and I'll explain why later. I do take Earthquake. I do this at the selected location instead of cast at your target. And the reason being is if a healer is going for a drink behind a pillar, I can actually cast Earth Shock behind the pillar and clip the healer and possibly pull him out, which is really good. Elemental Fury, this is insane. This just basically makes it so that our critical strikes deal more damage, and because we're an elemental shaman, our lava bursts always crit, so they're doing a bunch of damage. I say always crit, but they crit on flame shock targets. I take fire elemental, way higher value over storm elemental, especially because we take elemental unity, which makes this basically make our lava burst do 10% more damage the entire duration that fire elemental is up, which is really good. Flash of lightning. This just increases the critical strike chance of our lightning bolt by 10%, which is also really good. Aftershock has a 25% chance to refund our Earth Shock. So every time we cast Earth Shock, there's a chance that I could just cast it again, which is really good. Lava Burst has an additional charge. We take Echo Elements just basically to branch down, but yeah, it's really good. Ice Fury. What Ice Fury is every single time I cast a lightning bolt or a lava burst, I have a chance for my frost shock to be replaced by Ice Fury. Ice Fury does a decent amount of damage, but the procced frost shocks from the Ice Fury actually do so much damage. It's insane. Like, for instance, if I cast a lava burst into, well, if I cast Ice Fury, Lava Burst into a Frost Shock, that Frost Shock could hit for easily 2.5 million, no problem, which is really good. So Ice Fury makes you do a lot of damage. Stormkeeper, one of our big burst buttons. This is a minute cooldown, so this is going to be our 1 minute go. Every minute, we're going to want to have Stormkeeper up and basically just unleashing unleashing lightning bolts on people, which is really good. Master of the Elements. Every time we cast a Lava Burst, the next nature, physical, or frost spell deals 15% more damage. So that includes Earth Shock, Frost Shock, Ice Fury, Lightning Bolt, all that. So this comes down to how well you do your damage rotation, which we'll explain in a little bit. Fusion of the Elements. After casting Ice Fury, the next time you deal a damaging nature and fire spell, you cast an additional elemental blast. So basically what this means is when you cast Ice Fury, if I cast, say, Lava Burst into an Earth Shock, I will then proc an Elemental Blast. But if I only cast Lava Burst over and over and over again, I will not cast the Elemental Blast until I cast an Earth spell. Now, or a Nature spell. Now, I'm not sure, but there's a chance that Lightning Shield procs the Nature portion of this spell, because Nature, like, for some reason, it procs the Nature portion of Elemental Equilibrium. So it's very possible that casting Lava Burst over and over again and getting hit will trigger the Elemental Blast, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Swelling Maelstrom, this just increases the amount of Maelstrom we have, which is really good, and increases the Earth Shock damage by 5%. Primordial Fury increases the critical strike damage of Elemental Fury by another 25%. Very strong. I take Fury of the Storms, and there is a very good reason for taking Fury of the Storms. So basically, when you cast Stormkeeper, you get a Lightning Elemental by your side, and what that Elemental does is it actually procs this Elemental Unity, so your Lightning Bolts deal 10% more damage when you cast Stormkeeper. So very good. That's just an extra 10% more damage, and you get a little elemental friend that does a little bit of damage with you. Sometimes that elemental actually does do a ridiculous amount of damage. He will cast like things like Chain Lightning, and if it's hitting multiple targets, there's times where this thing actually just farms people, which is really nice. Lightning Capacitor, this increases the amount of nature damage we do by 8%, which is our Earth Shocks and Lightning Bolts. Improved Flame Tongue Weapon, this thing obviously increases our fire damage done, which is really good. Earth Shatter increases the Earth Shock damage. I take Echo Chamber, which makes it so that my elemental overloads do 40% more damage, really strong. Flames of the Cauldron reduces the cooldown of our Flame Shock by 1.5 seconds, making it a 4.5 second cooldown. And Flame Shock ticks faster, which means I get more instant cast Lava Bursts. Very good, very strong. I take Elemental Equilibrium, and the way this works is when you deal a Fire, Frost, and Nature damage spell, within 10 seconds, you'll do 10% more damage for 10 seconds, and this can occur every 30 seconds. So ideally, you want to line this up with your Primordial Wave every single 30 seconds. There's a very easy way of doing that, and I'll show you in our burst segment of the video. I take Ascendance. I do take Echo of the Elements. Now, you could probably subtract Echo of the Elementals and go Flux Melting if you want, but it's all kind of preference. I do like having 10% more fire damage for 10 seconds after my fire elemental leaves. I think that's pretty strong, but realistically, you could take Flux Melting and then just cast Frost Shock into Lava Burst, Frost Shock into Lava Burst, and do 20% more damage with Lava Burst, which is really good, but it just seems globally intensive where I could just be casting Lava Burst, Lava Burst, Lava Burst, and have 10% more damage because of this lesser fire elemental. Primordial Wave, this is our 30-second cooldown. Super strong 30-second cooldown. Might be one of the strongest 30-second goes in the game, honestly, just because we get so much from it. And I'll explain that later. Preeminence, which is when you have Ascendance up, you have basically a Bloodlust, which is crazy. And its duration is increased by 3 seconds, so that makes our Ascendance super strong cooldown. Some people take First Ascendant. I much rather take Preeminence just because it makes my Ascendance so much stronger, and when I get Deeply Rooted Element procs, it makes those procs even stronger by far, which is really good. I take Erupting Lava. Erupting Lava just makes it so that our Flame Shock duration is increased, its damage is increased, and when we Lava Burst, we consume bits of our Flame Shock's duration to do that damage, which is really strong. So yeah, you could just chunk people down really quick with Erupting Lava and just spamming Lava Bursts. Magma Chamber, I think this is just a no-brainer, especially with how hard Earth Shock hits right now. Having Flame Shock on multiple targets, you stack this up like literally every 5 seconds you have 10 stacks of this, and you're just blasting people for an extra 15% damage with your Earth Shocks, which is really good. Splintered Elements, every single time we cast Primordial Wave, as long as you have like 3 targets with your Flame Shock on it, you'll end up getting like 22% haste every 30 seconds, which is insane for a 30-second cooldown. It's basically a Bloodlust on a 30-second cooldown that stacks with other Bloodlusts. And then we take Liquid Magma Totem, which Liquid Magma Totem, the only use of Liquid Magma Totem, in my opinion, is basically to AoE spread your Flame Shock. So if I want to hit Flame Shock on multiple targets, I just Liquid Magma Totem, and now all of the targets that were in the range of that Liquid Magma Totem get Flame Shock on them. And it doesn't work in the sense where you can take Liquid Magma Totem and put it on somebody, and if they get dispelled, you can like Totemic Project it and it puts it on them. It doesn't work like that. The only time Liquid Magma Totem puts Flame Shock on people is the very first like initial tick. So they can't just like walk into a Liquid Magma Totem and end up getting Flame Shock put on them. You have to like make sure you actually click it on somebody, because if you don't and you miss, you won't get that that instant application of it. Okay. So something very important to know, make sure you're aiming and actually putting Liquid Magma Totem on people. Don't just throw it out there and hope people walk into it, because it's not going to do anything if people walk into it, okay? So yeah, that's our elemental side of the tree. Not much has changed on the elemental side of the tree as far as I'm concerned from our previous build. So yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, let's move right on. Okay, so moving on to our Farseer talent. So basically Farseer is my go-to. I don't really pick anything other than Farseer. I don't think Stormbringer is worth it this season, but we do get a set bonus that goes along with Farseer this season, obviously, because that's the way the set bonuses work in Season 3 of The War Within. And yeah, it's insane. The set bonus for Farseer is really good, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But yeah, we just take all the basics. I take Ancient Fellowship. There is an argument to be taken for Latent Wisdom because of the way our set bonus works, but I take Ancient Fellowship. I think it's just stronger. We do take Routine Communion, which means that every single Lava Burst we cast out, basically any single spell we cast out besides Earthshock, has a chance to cast an Ancestor by our side, which is really strong. And then I take Natural Harmony. Some people take Earthen Communion because it just makes your Earth Shield do more, but I just think Natural Harmony is really good. Having a 30-second cooldown on Nature's Guardian and it healing for more, also insane. But yeah, that's basically what you take. I mean, you take everything else. It's very self-explanatory. Basically, everything just does more damage. Spirit Walker's Momentum means every single time you cast a spell while your Spirit Walker's Grace is active, it increases the duration of Spirit Walker's Grace and the duration of Spirit Walker's Aegis, which is our Aura Mastery. Just really good. So yeah, nothing too crazy here. Something to note is when an Ancestor is called, they reduce the cooldown of Fire Elemental by 5 seconds, and you want to have Fire Elemental up as much as possible. So that's why I like having Routine Communication too, is you just have a lot of Ancestors going out all the time. And every 30 seconds, you're guaranteed to have at least 2 Ancestors, because we're casting Primordial Wave, which is what calls 1 Ancestor, and we're casting Ancestral Swiftness at the same time, which calls a 2nd Ancestor. So every 30 seconds, you just have 2 Ancestors banging on people, not to include what we're proccing, which is really good. So yeah, just a lot of Ancestors and a lot of damage, which is really nice. So that is our hero talents for this season. Nothing too crazy. Nothing has changed from the last season. All ready to go over our PvP talents. Now, the PvP talents are pretty set in stone. I take Grounding Totem, Totem of Wrath, and Shamanism. I would argue that Totem of Wrath and Shamanism are must-takes. You can probably take off Totem of Wrath and go Burrow instead. But Grounding is also pretty much a must-take. There's almost like, I think every single comp in the game has something worth grounding at this point. So it's almost like you need to take Grounding Totem. And if you don't, you're kind of playing like against a gimmicky comp. I mean, I guess there's a chance in like Solo Shuffle you fight up against something that doesn't have something worth grounding. Like say you're playing against Disciplined Priest, Arms Warrior, Outlaw Rogue. There's literally nothing you can ground at all. So there's no reason to take this. You would take Burrow instead. But yeah, you're basically taking either Burrow, Grounding, Totem of Wrath, and Shamanism. Everything else is kind of like a meh take. Static Field Totem could be taken, but it's very long cooldown and really rarely pressed. Unleash Shield is also really good, and it depends on what you are fighting. You could, if you're fighting against like a warrior, Unleash Shield could be very strong. As Unleash Shield is a knockback and a root because we're taking Elemental Orbit. So the second you press Unleash Shield, it just sends them flying backwards and roots them for 2 seconds, which is really nice. So, I mean, this is really good versus warriors because you can catch them like mid-charge. So say they charge you, you can cast Unleash Shield as they're charging to you and then send them flying. And then they have to waste another charge to get you. You can Thunderstorm them. And then once they get back to you again, you can like Lightning Lasso them. You can basically be out of range of a warrior like permanently as long as you're Unleash Shielding. But again, it's really hard to take Unleash Shield. I mean, I guess you could probably take Unleash Shield instead of Totem of Wrath versus Warriors, but I don't know. That feels a little weird. And Totem of Wrath is just really strong because this makes us do 15% more damage with our Lava Burst than any crit we do every single time we Primordial Wave, which is really strong. So, yeah, that's really good. But Shamanism is a must-take. This basically makes it so that we can cast Bloodlust on ourselves and a teammate. Which is really good. I have Shamanism. I have Bloodlust macroed into my Primordial Wave now. It used to be macroed into something else, but now I have it macroed into my Primordial Wave, and I'll go over macros in a little bit. But yeah, that's basically the PvP talents. There's really no variation there. That's what we're going to take, okay? Alrighty, so now to go over my favorite part of the video, which is the burst rotation, and this has changed, so listen up, ladies and gentlemen. Last season, our Ascendance used to give us a Fire Elemental for free, which was part of our set bonus. Now that this season has a new set bonus, we don't get that free Fire Elemental. So in order to benefit our burst from Elemental Unity, we need to be pressing Fire Elemental before our Ascendance, and I will show you guys exactly what I mean. Now, most of the time when an arena gate opens, a lot of Elemental Shamans will press Stormkeeper right off the rip. They'll press it like as the gates open practically. Now, Stormkeeper only lasts like 15 seconds, so you have to be mindful about that. But combat usually begins within the first 5 seconds of a game anyways, so it's not terrible to press it like that. You just have to be really mindful about what map you're on. If you're on like something like Tolvaron or something like that, for instance, it's probably going to be too early to press it. So be mindful about when you press Stormkeeper, but a lot of people pre-press Stormkeeper so they don't have to worry about casting it versus somebody when they're in your face or able to stun you. So yeah, so you're only going to want to get Stormkeeper up, then you're going to want to press Fire Elemental, Ascendance, then Primordial Wave, which is macroed with your Ancestral Swiftness and Bloodlust. Then you're going to Lava Burst, Lightning Bolt, Lava Burst, Lightning Bolt. You'll most likely have enough Maelstrom to Earthshock. So a lot of the times I like to Lava Burst again and then Earthshock. And the reason why I like to Lava Burst there again before I just press Earthshock is I like to proc the Master of the Elements proc, which makes my Earthshock do 15% more damage. And then most of the time, again, you'll have an Ice Fury proc, and you can weave that in there as well. But the main big chunk of burst comes from our Primordial Wave, our Lava Burst into a Lightning Bolt, Lava Burst into Lightning Bolt. That's like a huge portion. I mean, you're talking probably close to like 10 million damage on average there in just those like 4 button presses. And then you Lava Burst into an Earthshock again, and that can be another like 4 to 5 million easily. So I mean, honestly, you can easily do somebody's full health bar very simply with the burst rotation. So I'm going to show you guys exactly how to do it. And yeah, just make sure you want to keep Flame Shock up. Now, Flame Shock can be dispelled, but Ascendance will reapply Flame Shock, so don't worry too much, okay? So we're going to Flame Shock, Liquid Magma Totem, the off targets, a Stormkeeper, Fire Elemental, Ascendance, Primordial Wave, Lava Burst, Lightning Bolt, Lava Burst, Lightning Bolt, Lava Burst into a Earthshock. We got the Ice Fury proc, Lava Burst, Earthshock, and you just rotate. You're rotating your Lava Burst into Earthshock as much as possible, and that way you're getting that Master of the Elements proc over and over again, okay? And as you can see, in just that one little go, we did like 200 million damage, basically 200 million to our targets here, and you can see how hard these lightning bolts are hitting. I mean, I hit a 5.4 mil non-crit. Now, of course, this is on a training dummy, so the numbers are skewed, but this will still easily hit for around 2 million in an actual game. And same thing with our Earthshock, and our Lava Burst is also pumping. Our Ancestors are pumping. Also, something to note, because I macro Primordial Wave and Ancestral Swiftness together, every single time I press Primordial Wave, I'm not only getting 2 Ancestors because Primordial Wave calls 1 and Ancestral Swiftness will also call another 1, but I'm actually getting 3 because the way our set bonus works is when I cast Ancestral Swiftness, I summon an empowered Ancestor. So you guys can see that here. When I press Primordial Wave, I actually get 1, 2, 3 Ancestors. So every 30 seconds, I'm getting 3 Ancestors, which means every 30 seconds, I'm actually knocking 15 seconds off the cooldown of my Fire Elemental due to Offering from Beyond. So that's actually really cool, right? So overall, you want to be pressing your 30-second go pretty much off cooldown, and you want to be pressing Stormkeeper pretty much off cooldown. The only time you want to kind of pause and wait is if you know they have a defensive up currently, or you can line up your damage a little better with your teammate. But most of the time, you want to just be sending all your damage off cooldown as much as possible as Elemental Shaman. We're just damage tanks, basically. We just sit in the middle of the map and just toss out as much damage as physically possible. Now, the thing is, too, is you want to pretty much line up every Stormkeeper with every Bloodlust as well. They're both a minute cooldown. So as long as you're pressing Primordial Wave off cooldown, every 2 Primordial Waves, you'll have a Stormkeeper. So if you have Stormkeeper up and you're about to Primordial Wave, try to cast your Stormkeeper first so you can Primordial Wave, Lava Burst into. So this is kind of what your 1 minute go is going to look like. You're going to want a Stormkeeper, and then you're going to Primordial Wave, lava burst into lightning bolt, lava burst into lightning bolt. And that's what our 1 minute go really looks like. That's like the big chunk of 1 minute go damage. You can see I did 60 million damage already to the training dummy, 70 million. And just those 2 lightning bolts, I hit a 11.5 million damage lightning bolt, one of those crits. I mean, of course, again, this is a PvP training dummy, so it's probably reduced by like 50% in PvP, but it's still like almost a 6 million damage lightning bolt, not including, you know, the earth shocks and the lava burst and everything else coming out. So even if you subtract all of this by 50%, that was literally 30 million damage single target in like, I don't know, maybe 4 seconds. So you can do some ridiculous damage in your 1 minute goes as Elemental Shaman. Now, of course, obviously your 3 minute goes when you get Ascendance, that's where your real like moneymaker is. So a lot of the times at a high level when you're playing Elemental Shaman, games can last multiple ascendances, and you're really kind of banking on surviving until dampening gets to like a literal unhealable point. So there is a point where Elemental literally does so much damage in its go that it is quite literally unhealable, and that's around like the 7 to 8 minute mark. Now, of course, games will probably rarely last that for majority of people. I'm talking at like a rank 1 range where people rotate every single defensive properly and whatnot. But yeah, it's really rare. But yeah, Elemental Shaman is a great class. Here's the full burst rotation again, as I have them all off cooldown. I might as well show you guys again. So again, we're going to keep Flame Shocks on our targets, Liquid Magma Totem off targets. I'm going to Stormkeeper, Fire Elemental, Ascendance, Primordial Wave, lava burst, lightning bolt, lava burst, lightning bolt, and it's just that simple. Lava burst into an earth shock, lava burst into an earth shock. I get an ice fury proc, ice fury. It's just like rotating between ice fury procs, lava burst, and earth shock. That's like your main 3 buttons outside of your burst. And the reason why we're not casting lightning bolt a lot is lightning bolt just simply does not do a lot of damage for Farseer. The only time lightning bolt really does a huge amount of damage is when we're Stormkeepering. You can press lightning bolt if you have no other global to press, but most of the time, even when you don't have an instant cast lava burst or an earth shock, pressing frost shock is probably a better global, or pressing a utility like greater purge or some form of utility to fill those globals is probably better than casting a raw lightning bolt, especially because you risk getting kicked on lightning bolt and it's just not worth it. So that is the damage rotation part, and moving on to the next part of our guide. Alrighty, so moving into macro section of the guide. Very simple. There's not like a crazy amount of macros for Elemental Shaman, but the ones that are very important, in my opinion, one of them is having totemic projection macroed into your grounding totem. And so the way you can do this is you type /cast grounding totem /cast at cursor totemic projection. Again, all these macros are going to be in the description of the video, so check that out there if you want any of these. But basically what this macro does is if I press grounding totem, instead of it appearing next to me, it's going to appear at my cursor. So if I have my cursor over here and I press grounding totem, boom, the grounding totem appears right there instead of right next to me. And what's nice about this is it makes the grounding totem a lot harder to kill. So if I'm really trying to ground like something like a trap or something like that, I can place it behind a pillar and it'll still eat the trap for my healer, which is really nice. Or if I'm trying to ground a chaos bolt, instead of them just conflagrating it and then chaos bolting, they will have to wait. Basically, they won't be able to kill it because it'll be behind a pillar, which is really nice. So it gives me like a little bit more time on my every grounding totem. Now, same thing with Tremor Totem. I have it macroed so that when I press Tremor Totem, it casts at my cursor as well. And again, this is going to be in the description for the video, but if I cast Tremor Totem, it appears at my cursor. Very good. Very nice. And super easy. So say my healer gets feared over here, I just place my cursor as close as possible to my healer and press Tremor Totem, and 90% of the time it gets them out. Hopefully it works better for you than it does for me, because sometimes for some reason Tremor does not break my healer out of crowd control, even though it definitely should. And I don't know what it is about Tremor Totem, but sometimes Tremor Totem is a little buggy, it seems. But either way. And then I have this ridiculously long macro for my Primordial Wave, which is my 30-second go. Now, I highly suggest people copying this, but I have /cast at my teammate. So whatever my teammate's name is, Bloodlust. So I put in, if I'm in like a solo shuffle, for instance, and this is my teammate, I will simply right-click their profile, click copy character name, and then copy their name into the macro, PK, so that when I press, and this is going to be my DPS teammate. I don't want to use this on a healer. I want to use it on my DPS teammate. And basically when I press Primordial Wave, it'll automatically Bloodlust them, which is really good. I also have slash cast Bloodlust in the macro itself, so that if I don't have a teammate, if I'm in like a battleground or if I'm in something else and I cast Primordial Wave, it'll still cast Bloodlust, because if you don't have a teammate like for it to cast at, it just won't cast. So I just have slash cast Bloodlust after my teammate macros specifically, so that it still casts Bloodlust. And then I have slash cast Blood Fury, which is an orc racial, so if you're not an orc, you don't have to worry about that. Slash cast Ancestral Swiftness, very important to put this first, and then slash cast Primordial Wave last. So basically everything leading up to my Primordial Wave is off global cooldown, so that I can press it and everything will happen the same instance I press Primordial Wave. And I'll show you guys this active right now. So basically, if I have a Flame Shock on a target and I press Primordial Wave, it's going to hit Primordial Wave and Ancestral Swiftness at the same time. Now, Primordial Wave gives you a proc of Lava Surge, so you get an instant cast Lava Burst, but also Ancestral Swiftness is usable on a Lava Burst. So the second I press Primordial Wave, I get 2 free Lava Bursts no matter what, which is really good. So I press it, boom, Lava Burst, Lava Burst. So that's really nice, right? And it's just macroed into the button. Now, something that I've noticed is I get addicted to pressing Primordial Wave the second it comes off cooldown. Now, Ancestral Swiftness doesn't go off cooldown until you use it. Like if you press Ancestral Swiftness, it won't go on cooldown until you press it. So what happens sometimes is it gets desynced with Primordial Wave if I get CC'd the instance I press Primordial Wave. So I have to watch the cooldown of my Ancestral Swiftness to make sure that they're pressing at the same time. But yeah, press it. Yeah, I get 3 Ancestors every single 30 seconds for free, 2 instant cast Lava Bursts, and I do a ridiculous amount of damage. So yeah, 30-second go is ridiculous, but honestly, this macro makes it so much easier for it to be consistent and pristine. So very important to have this Primordial Wave macro. I would genuinely say that this Primordial Wave macro has easily buffed my damage by like 10%, purely because it consistently uses Ancestral Swiftness in line with Primordial Wave, and I just have those Ancestors rolling every 30 seconds perfectly on rotation. And there's no like hiccup or anything like that. There's no mechanical error on my part by, oh, I forgot to press Ancestral Swiftness, or oh, I pressed Ancestral Swiftness, but then I pressed Primordial Wave 10 seconds later, and now they're off sync. So yeah, this macro is super important. This will be also in the description below. I also have things that are like basic focus macros, which is slash cast at focus. A lot of people have focus macros now, but yeah, I have slash focus cast macros for my Hex and my Wind Shear, and as well as my Greater Purge. I think those are just really important, and basically it allows me to CC or kick or purge my off target. So if it's the healer and I don't ever have to tab away from my main target, I can still be doing damage or focusing on other things, but also able to CC them in the background, which is really nice, right? So that's pretty good. I have slash stop casting in my Wind Shear macro, because if I'm casting, for some reason, even though it's off global, Wind Shear doesn't seem to interrupt my cast, which drives me crazy. So I just have slash stop casting in my Wind Shear macro, which is pretty simple, pretty basic. Another very important thing, in my opinion, to have a macro for is actually a Cleanse Spirit macro. So if you're fighting something with a curse, it's really important to drop, say Voodoo Mastery and go Cleanse Spirit. And so basically, if you're fighting another, say, Shaman, for instance, you want to have a macro so that you have a DPS teammate here and a heal here, and it basically, what it does is it casts Cleanse Spirit. The nice part about that is I never have to deselect my target again to dispel Hex or other curses from them. So yeah, very important to have a Cleanse Spirit macro, in my opinion. But yeah, other than that, I mean, at the least, please just copy this Primordial Wave macro. I swear it increases damage by so much. It is insane. So yeah, very important macro. I think that's it for macros. Now, if you guys want to focus on some add-ons that I don't have like a crazy amount. I do have Weak Aura. It doesn't show here for some reason, but I have Weak Aura, and all Weak Aura does for me is track my trinket proc, so I know when I get a trinket proc. But yeah, other than that, I know a lot of people ask for my add-ons. Some really big important ones is big debuffs, in my opinion, that basically shows on the portrait what crowd control somebody is in or what button they have pressed, whether it's like a defensive or something like that. So this allows me to focus purely on my portraits instead of having to look at other miscellaneous stuff. I do have Gladius EX. I know a lot of people use like S Arena or just Gladius in general. For some reason, I use Gladius EX, and my Gladius EX, if I test it, my Gladius EX actually shows my diminishing returns. It shows spell casts. It shows some basic cooldowns for each class, which is really good, like kicks, stuns, defensives. So yeah, I mean, I actually like using Gladius EX. It never bugs out for me, so I have no issue with it. But you know, to each their own. Everybody has their own arena frame macro they like. I use Omnibar. Now Omnibar tracks kicks for me. So again, if there's a kick available, it'll show up on my Omnibar, which is right here. And then I have Omni CD, which shows what cooldowns my teammates have left remaining. So if I'm in an arena or a solo shuffle and I'm like, oh, does my healer have Void Swap or does it have Life Cocoon? I can simply look at my portraits and tell that based on having Omni CD, which is really good. But yeah, that's basically it. Those are like the most important ones. I mean, everything else here is super unimportant. Narcissus or whatever. Narcissus is just used for me making thumbnails. Gladiator Shuffle wins trackers. Is a wins tracker. So once I hit 2400 in a bracket, it shows how many wins I need to get to Legend or Gladiator. Better Blizz Plates is just, it makes their nameplates look cleaner. And then Trophy GCD just shows every single global I press. You can see at the bottom here. So this is purely for like streaming. So like people that are watching me when I stream, boom, you know, you have my globals, so you can see, you know, what buttons I'm pressing in an arena. Or even in a video, I guess. But yeah, it just shows all my globals. It shows everything that I press, which is really nice for people watching. Okay. But yeah, that's basically it for add-ons and macros. The last thing we're going to look at, I believe, is our gearing priority. So let's get right into that. Okay. So to look at gearing priority, I actually don't have full gear on my Elemental Shaman. I haven't played it too much this season, but again, I played it enough to know a lot about it. So, I would actually change some pieces, but for the main important thing is we have 4 set this season. You definitely want to get 4 set. And the pieces we want to get for 4 set specifically is helmet, shoulders, gloves, and legs. Okay, 4 set. Our chest, I want to get the Gladiator piece, which is Verse Mastery. Now for our necklace, I went Verse Haste for the craft. You can probably get away with going Verse Mastery for this one, okay? We want to get a little bit more mastery than what I have, in my opinion. I do have Verse Haste on my rings. Now, I think Verse Haste on the rings is perfectly fine. I do get Elemental Focusing Lens, which is our embellishment for our ring to craft. And what Elemental Focusing Lens does is it basically procs extra damage at random based on what you have socketed. Now, I have a Mastery Verse Gem socketed, which means it'll do shadow damage, I believe. And a little tidbit of information that a lot of people miss for some reason. So the way our elemental equilibrium works is fire, frost, and nature damage procs this. And to make sure it doesn't proc, I don't want to have a fire, nature, or frost gem slotted. So I slot Mastery Verse because it's a shadow gem. So it'll proc shadow damage. So it won't accidentally proc my elemental equilibrium. I know that's super micro, but it does happen where if you have like, I think it's like Verse Haste or something like that, it procs Frost, and it'll proc your Elemental Equilibrium and throw your 30-second damage kind of way off. Because if it procs on your first Flame Shock, for instance, now it's going to be, your Elemental Equilibrium has 2 seconds left by the time you actually start casting Stormkeeper Lightning Bolts, which is really bad. So this is super micro, but also something that I find really important. So yeah, there's that. Obviously, you want to get the Conquest proc one and the Conquest proc, or the Conquest Trinket. You want to get Verse Mastery boots. I would get Verse Mastery for the waist, Verse Mastery for the for the wrist, and then for the cloak, I have a Mastery fiber in here. I would actually prefer to have a Versatility fiber in here, especially because once I change out all these pieces for Verse Mastery, I want to get a little bit more versatility because I'll have way more mastery than I need. So yeah, I have a little bit of a wonky gear set right now. And then I get Authority of Radiant Power for my weapon enchant. I think that's really good. You get Verse Mastery on your main hand. I would get Verse Mastery on my offhand as well. I'd probably craft a shield if I had to. But instead I have the Verse Haste one for right now, just because it was the one that I got for free. But yeah, so I definitely want to get a little bit more verse mastery out of my stats here. I think basically I have a little bit too much haste and a little too little mastery. So inside of PvP, let's see here. Inside of PvP, I'd probably want my haste to be like 20,000 instead of 23,000. I'd want my mastery to be like 12,000, and I'd want my versatility to probably be like 25,000. I want to be over 30% versatility for sure. I probably want to be, yeah, I want to be closer to 30% haste, probably like 45% mastery, and I would say over 30% verse at all. So that would be my ideal stats if I could get there. But I just haven't gotten the gear for it. But that is like pristine stat priority in my opinion. Anywhere close to that or above that is even better. So again, 30% haste in PvP, 45% mastery, and then 30% versatility. That's probably exactly where you want to be. Don't even look at critical strike. Critical strike is a complete meme of a stat, and we just happen to get it, sadly, from our helmet, but it is what it is, and our gloves. So, you know, you can only do so much, ladies and gentlemen, when we have to get 4 set, okay? But very important to get 4 set. Again, 4 set is our helmet, shoulders, legs, and gloves. So, you know, head, shoulders, knees, and toes type beat, you know what I mean? But no chest. Chest, you want to get just the raw verse mastery piece. Okay. And then, like I said, enchants, you want to get authority, radiant power. You probably want to get mastery enchants instead of haste enchants. You want to get the leg enchant, which gives you, intellect and stamina. You want to get the chest enchant, which is called crystalline radiance. It gives you, intellect. Cloak enchant gives me speed on my bracers and speed on my boots. Don't have any of those, by the way. And then you want to get precog as your gem, and then mastery verse, gems as well. And you'll be fully geared. You'll be fully good to go. So hopefully you can follow that. I know I don't have the perfect gearing, so this is kind of scuffed, but hopefully it makes sense what I'm saying. I also wanted to remind you guys just to like, sub, and comment below. It helps the video grow substantially and my channel grow substantially. I appreciate each and every one of you. And also comment any suggestions for videos you guys have ideas for. I have no problem making content specifically for you guys. And yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, enjoyed these gameplay clips, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace.
This is a day for cold heroes!
Oh, fuck. This guy's got to watch the guide. This guy's got to watch the guide once I put it out. Oh, watch this, watch this. Yeah, he's got to watch the guide. There's no way. Tactics. Tactics. If you're in this video, you got to watch the guide, baby. Okay, I'm going to ground Hodge. I'm going to ground Hodge. On God. I'm going to ground it right here. Okay, Joe. JK. I did not ground Hodge. I forced bubble. Ground. Oh, get me away from him. He spell bops, but it didn't come out. Like, he didn't come out of the thing. Fuck. Okay. Stunning. Oh no. It's up to me, chat. It's not a good thing versus Rep Pally. Oh, so sadly he's not. Oh my god, I have so much damage. It's over, chat. Bomp, 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 bomp. This guy's name is What the Belly. That's so good. Nice. Nice. Let's go. It's time to give him a win. Big down. Big down. Jesus. Look at my damage! Holy moly.
This reminds me of the battle on Alpha 9. The Petro Rapids were Grimlock, get your noodle out of my face.
Me, Grimlock, love Cubs War Story.